I've been married to my mate, William Parker, for 3 years. Yet he has never claimed me. He always says that once his territory expands, he will hold a grand marking ceremony for me. I believed him and willingly waited for 3 years. But today, I witnessed with my own eyes William claiming my younger sister, Naomi Jenkins, at the altar. In fact, she has been missing for 3 years. At the marking ceremony, my 3 older brothers stand firmly by Naomi's side, supporting her. Naomi was too young back then, and was deceived by the beta of the northern pack into fleeing. Now she's been poisoned by silver nitrate and doesn't have long to live. Her only wish is to become your mate, they say. William nods and replies calmly, "For 3 years, I didn't hold a marking ceremony for Patricia. I was waiting for Naomi to return and explain things to me. I will claim Naomi as my own to fulfill her final wish. But Patricia must never know. If she finds out, she'll leave me. My brothers, however, are certain. It's fine. She loves you that much. Even if she knew, she wouldn't leave. Right now, nothing matters more than Naomi." I flee in despair, realizing that those 3 years of waiting were nothing but a cruel joke. The marking ceremony was always meant for Naomi. After she left, my brothers showered me with affection. I foolishly thought I was finally loved. But the truth hurts. Whenever Naomi returns, all their love goes back to her. The moment I learn the truth, my heart shatters and I leave. Yet why, after I'm gone, do they all regret it? After the marking ceremony, my eldest brother, Anthony Jenkins, turned to the crowd and announced, "I booked the upscale restaurant in our territory. Naomi used to love going there." At that, Naomi Jenkins threw herself into his arms, sobbing, "I thought you'd never accept me again." My 3 brothers exchanged glances, each of them wearing the same conflicted look. My second brother, Bradley Jenkins, ruffled her hair. "You silly girl. Growing up, every time you got into trouble, we were the ones covering for you." Then, the 3 of them ushered Naomi toward William Parker's car. I couldn't watch anymore. My face turned pale, and I bolted. In truth, Naomi and I were twins. Yet, all my life, she had been the center of attention, while I remained invisible in the background. Everyone in the family only had eyes for her. They bought her the finest, most extravagant things, and I got whatever she didn't want. Even the man I secretly loved, William, alpha of the Bloodstone Pack, was Naomi's fiancé. I thought I would go my whole life without anyone ever loving me. But 3 years ago, Naomi ran off with the beta of the Northern Pack. In their fury, my brothers publicly disowned her. And William, who had spent 3 months drowning in grief, proposed to me with moonlight roses. He looked at me with that dazed gaze, as if he were seeing Naomi through my face. "You and her, you look so alike," he had said. "Since she ran off, will you marry me instead? I'll treat you well, I promise." I knew I shouldn't have said yes, but I was too in love with him. For the past 3 years, William had spoiled me so thoroughly that I became the most envied she-wolf in the entire pack. My brothers changed too. All the love they had once reserved for Naomi fell on me. Anthony bought me lavish moonstone jewelry at auctions. Bradley knew I had a sweet tooth and would drive 3 hours to a neighboring territory just to bring back a strawberry cake for me. My third brother, Caleb Jenkins, never forgot my seafood allergy and would carefully go through every dish before I ate. But all of it was a lie. The moment Naomi came back, everything vanished like bubbles. I didn't even know how long I had been wandering outside before I finally drifted home in a daze. The moment I opened the door, the sight in the living room struck me like a punch to the gut. Anthony was shelling shrimp for Naomi, while Bradley held the antidote and gently coaxed her. "Naomi, it's time to take this." She tugged at his sleeve, pouting. "It's too bitter. I don't want it." Without missing a beat, Caleb handed her a piece of candy. "You used to love these. I've kept them on hand for you." William spotted me first. Flustered, he quickly rose from Naomi's side. "Where have you been, Patricia?" he asked. "You weren't home all day." He gazed at me with tenderness in his eyes. It was as if the wolf who had claimed Naomi at the altar earlier wasn't him. I didn't respond. Instead, I stared blankly at Naomi. Guilt flickered across William's face as he stepped away from her. "Naomi accidentally ingested silver nitrate. The poison has ravaged her body. Her final wish is for us to stay with her until the very end, he explained. He shifted his gaze away from me, clearly uncomfortable. After a pause, he added, when she ran off, your brothers and I said we would never forgive her. But she's your sister. Out of respect for you, I couldn't let her leave with regrets. Just then Anthony strode over, anxious as he spoke up for Naomi. What we said back then doesn't count. She was still young and didn't mean any of it. Out of habit, he reached out to ruffle my hair, but his hand froze halfway, and he drew it back. Anthony went on. Naomi doesn't have much time left. Whatever happened back then, let's move past it. Yeah. Bradley nodded in agreement. She was mischievous as a child, but life out there hasn't been easy. She has learned her lesson. Even Caleb came over quietly, his voice gentle as he said, at the end of the day, we're still family. You've always been the most sensible one, Patricia, haven't you? Their words in her defense stabbed at my chest. Still I nodded. I looked at each of them in turn and replied softly, all right. The moment I agreed, I had already decided to leave forever. The love of my family, and my mate no longer belonged to me. Since that was the case, I would let Naomi have it all. I made up my mind to pack my things and go. Meanwhile, the four men exhaled in relief at my words, their expressions softening with satisfaction. Stay with Naomi for now. We'll get her room ready, William said gently before hurrying upstairs with my three brothers. I wanted to refuse, but the words caught in my throat. Only after their footsteps faded upstairs did Naomi saunter over. A triumphant smile played on her lips as she mocked. Well, even after 3 years away and all the mistakes I've made, they still love me the same. She leaned closer, a cruel smile twisting her lips. But you'll always be the pathetic one nobody wants, Pat. I stepped back and said calmly, I never wanted to fight you for anything. If it's their love you want, it's yours. Naomi snickered. They've always loved me. You were nothing but a stand-in. Then, she pulled out a crystal vial and swooped in front of me. Tell me, when they see this, will they believe me or you? Before I could respond, Naomi pinned me down on the couch. Her strength was far beyond what a patient should have. She poured the entire vial of silver nitrate into my mouth without hesitation. As I struggled, a few drops landed on the back of her hand. In a flash, she flung the vial aside and collapsed to the floor, letting out a piercing scream. It hurts. A gust of wind swept past me as the men teleported into the living room. When they saw Naomi's hand burned by the silver nitrate, their expressions darkened instantly. William was the first to reach her, and a blast of air from his motion sent me crashing to the floor. Yet he didn't spare me a single glance. All his focus was on her hand. The silver nitrate burned through my insides, and I curled into a ball on the floor. I couldn't even speak. Anthony shot me a cold look. Naomi just came back today. She never intended to compete with you for anything. Why can't you just accept her? I gritted my teeth against the torment racking my body and forced myself to say, it was Naomi. She forced the silver nitrate into me. Suddenly, Naomi burst into loud sobs. Why can't you accept me, Pat? I'm already poisoned with silver nitrate. I don't have much time left. Why would you hurt me? Caleb held her close, but when he looked at me, there was no warmth in his gaze. That's enough, Patricia. Look at her. Do you really think she has the strength to get silver nitrate and use it against you? A wave of hopelessness crashed over me. All my life, Naomi had found every chance to frame me. She always played the innocent victim in front of our brothers, making everyone believe I was the cruel one. No matter how I explained myself before, no one ever believed me. But this time, I wanted to try to defend myself. The affection they had given me over the past 3 years gave me a flicker of hope. Maybe Anthony, Bradley, Caleb, and William would believe me this once. So, I forced myself to reach for the crystal vial. I'm not lying. If you don't believe me, see for yourselves. But before I could touch it, Bradley gripped my wrist tightly. Enough, he snapped. Patricia Jenkins, how could you be so cruel? Naomi is your sister, and she's poisoned. Why would you harm her with silver nitrate? By then Caleb had scooped Naomi into his arms. Let's take her to the healing sanctuary. She needs the antidote. Just like that, the 4 men rushed out with Naomi. Not one of them turned back to look at me. It's true, I've been poisoned with silver nitrate, I whispered. I collapsed to the floor as the silver nitrate spread through me, my vision growing hazy. Just then my maid, Daisy York, rushed over. Panic was written all over her face, and her terrified screams rang in my ears. But my consciousness was already fading. When I finally came to, I was lying on a bed in the healing sanctuary. The witch tending to me said anxiously, "I'm sorry, but all the healers were sent to the VIP ward." The Luna of the Bloodstone Pack took a sudden turn for the worse, and the Alpha ordered every healer to tend to her. So there's no one left to treat you. I've been poisoned with silver nitrate. I forced myself upright and begged, "Please, just give me 1 dose of the antidote. If I take it in time, I can still survive." At that, the witch hurried away. But before long, she returned with a troubled expression. "The Bloodstone Pack's Luna has silver nitrate poisoning as well. All the antidotes went to her. There's none left." Daisy, who had brought me here, grabbed the witch's arm. Her voice choked with sobs as she pleaded, "Please, Mrs. Parker can't hold on any longer. You have to save her." I lay on the bed, fighting to stay conscious. Excruciating pain surged through me, leaving me drenched in sweat. I fumbled for my phone and mustered all my strength to call William. "William," I croaked. "I've been poisoned with silver nitrate. Could you spare me a healer?" But Naomi's pitiful cries came through the line. "William, go be with her. She called you. You're her mate." "I shouldn't trouble you while I'm sick," William refused without a second thought. "No. You're my fated mate, chosen by the moon goddess. I'll stay with you. I won't leave you." My chest tightened as if seized by an unrelenting force that tore it apart from within. I didn't even notice when the call ended. I clutched my phone as tears streamed silently down my face. I curled into a ball, and my wolf roared in agony inside me. The silver nitrate gnawed at its life. Before long, my consciousness grew hazy. "Mrs. Parker! Mrs. Parker!" Daisy's cries echoed from afar. "Don't fall asleep. Please save her. She's dying." But I couldn't hold on any longer. The pain was unbearable, and I was exhausted. Slowly, I let my eyes close. Meanwhile, my 3 brothers paced anxiously outside the VIP ward. William stayed inside with Naomi as the healers surrounded her, treating her. "How is Naomi now?" After the treatment, William asked the healers to examine her. But the moment they approached, she clutched her chest and let out a sharp scream. My chest, it hurt so much. Without missing a beat, Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb rushed into the ward. They shoved the healers aside and crowded around Naomi, their faces etched with worry. "I don't want to stay here anymore. I want to go home," Naomi wailed. Anthony frowned and tried to reason with her. "You're too weak. You should stay and let them treat you properly." "My illness can't be cured," Naomi lowered her head, sobbing. "Why should I suffer through treatment? I just want to spend my last days at home with all of you." The 4 men relented instantly and took her home. It took Anthony, Bradley, Caleb, and William 2 days at home with Naomi before they noticed I was missing. "Where's Patricia? She hasn't come back in 2 days. Does she have no respect for rules?" Anthony slammed his hand on the table, his face dark with anger. William, too, furrowed his brow. "Find out where Patricia is," he ordered Nathan Cooper, his beta. William knew I wouldn't go this long without reaching out to him. Suddenly, a twinge of unease stirred in him. Bradley glared at him. "I bet she's in hiding because we caught her hurting Naomi. Find her, and make her apologize." As they accused me, Naomi smirked inwardly. Even after 3 long years and all my efforts, I still couldn't take her place in their hearts. At that moment, Nathan burst in, panic written across his face. "Alpha William, 2 days ago Mrs. Parker was taken to the healing sanctuary after being poisoned. But you sent all the healers and antidotes to the VIP ward. By the time Daisy tried to bring her out, she was already dead." With a loud bang, William collided with the table in front of him. Glasses and a teapot crashed to the floor, shards scattering in every direction. "What are you saying? How could Patricia have possibly been poisoned by silver nitrate?" Anthony's face contorted in disbelief. He even reached out to grab Nathan by the collar, only to stop when Naomi's voice rang out. I know you. A couple of days ago, you were talking with my sister in the courtyard. Did she bribe you to tell such an outrageous lie? At that, William calmed down and gave Nathan a scrutinizing look. Nathan's face flushed as he hurried to explain. That's not true. Miss Patricia only did me a small favor. Besides, I'm loyal only to Alpha William. How could I lie to him? But now no one believed him. In a fit of rage, Bradley punched Nathan. What exactly did Patricia give you to deceive us like this? Tell her that if she doesn't come back immediately, she'll never set foot here again. No, I can't reach Miss Patricia. Maybe something really did happen to her, Nathan stammered. Yet, no one listened. William threw him out of the pack territory and stripped him of his beta title. She has to be lying. You can't get silver nitrate without special connections. How could she possibly ingest it by accident? Caleb said, though he wasn't sure. If he was trying to convince the others or himself. The rest of them nodded in agreement, utterly convinced that I had deceived them. The maids quickly cleaned up the mess and laid out a fresh meal. The 4 men sat at the table, but their minds were elsewhere. Even while serving Naomi, they subconsciously reached for the dishes I preferred. William, I don't even like this. Were you? William glanced at the food on Naomi's plate. He looked apologetic as he said, Sorry, that was my oversight. Naomi felt a pang of annoyance but didn't show it. Instead, she replied with a gentle smile, It's fine. I don't mind. Anthony, on the other hand, stared blankly at the pot of wormwood stew. I had gathered the plant myself from the forest and asked the chef to make it for him. He came back from patrol with injuries more often than not, so I had found this remedy especially for him. I even told the chef to make it only after the full moon. Anthony couldn't help but recall my thoughtfulness. Bradley and Caleb, too, stared at their favorite dishes, each of them lost in thought. When Naomi first left, they treated me well just to spite her. But after years of living together, they had grown to like the gentle, kind person I was. I always tried to return their kindness in whatever way I could. I remembered every one of their preferences. On their birthdays, I baked their cakes myself, and I cooked whatever new dishes I could think of to suit each of their tastes. All those moments from the past flashed before their eyes. However, Naomi was far from pleased. Back then, she had been the center of attention whenever she dined with the 4 of them. William would serve her food, Anthony would carefully peel her shrimp, and Bradley and Caleb would entertain her with jokes. But now the air was heavy with tension. When Anthony ladled the wormwood stew into Naomi's bowl for the second time, she finally snapped. Aunt, I told you. I hate this. Something that awful shouldn't even be on the table. Furious, she knocked the bowl aside. Just as she reached for the pot to dump the whole thing out, Anthony pushed her away. Tears welled up in Naomi's eyes instantly. In the next second, they streamed down her face and fell onto the floor. Aunt, did you really push me because of a pot of stew? She waited for him to apologize. Once, they would have rushed to comfort her. But now, the 4 of them only watched her in silence, their hands instinctively shielding the dishes in front of them. Anthony glanced at Naomi and said coolly, Naomi, if you're finished, head upstairs. She stared at him in disbelief. After a long moment, she turned to wipe at her tears as if she had been gravely wronged, then hurried upstairs. As soon as she was out of everyone's sight, Naomi's gaze turned vicious. She couldn't wrap her head around it. Why would they still defend me when I was already dead? William instinctively moved to follow her, but after only a few steps he stopped short. He no longer knew what he truly felt for Naomi. After spending 3 years together, he realized he had already fallen in love with me. My 3 brothers sat at the table in silence, staring at the food before them. At last one of them said, Maybe this is on us. Ever since Naomi returned, we really have been neglecting Patricia. She must be furious with us. That's the only reason she'd join forces with outsiders to lie to us. A heavy sadness settled over the dining room, and William couldn't bear the oppressive atmosphere. He was the first to leave the pack's territory. A twinge of unease stirred in him over my disappearance. Once he was outside, he sent his personal guards to track me down. And go see Naomi's lead healer. Tell him to arrange the rest of her treatment, William added. Even though he had finally sorted out his feelings, he still couldn't ignore Naomi's condition. Meanwhile, Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb sat in the living room. Silence stretched on until one finally spoke. Naomi seemed really upset just now. We should check on her. I mean, with how she is now, she might not have much time left. With that, they headed upstairs, carrying a glass of milk. But just as they reached Naomi's door, the sharp crash of breaking glass echoed through the hall. Then, her furious voice carried from inside the room. That damned Patricia. She's dead already. Why can't she just stay that way? What did she do to make everyone so fixated on her? The three men froze in shock. Unsure if they were hearing correctly, they couldn't believe that their lively, kind sister could be such a person behind their backs. Caleb was about to knock on the door when what Naomi said next stopped him cold. That bitch Patricia is finally dead. All that work I put into getting the silver nitrate wasn't for nothing. I poured every drop down her throat. She's dead for good. She really thought she could replace me, huh? My brothers and William are all wrapped around my finger. And the funniest thing? She's dead, yet no one believed it. Not a soul came to lay her to rest. All at once, their breaths hitched. So I really had been poisoned by silver nitrate. And on the day I needed the antidote, they had pulled every healer away. They didn't even leave me a single vial. Even then, my three brothers refused to believe any of it. Anthony sucked in a sharp breath, like a drowning man reaching for a lifeline. In the next second, he yanked open Naomi's bedroom door, his eyes burning red with fury as he glared at her. The snarl on Naomi's face hadn't even faded, and all three of them saw it. They couldn't believe that this was the little sister they had doted on. The one who had always seemed only slightly pampered. Bradley fixed her with an icy stare, enunciating each word deliberately as he asked, Naomi Jenkins, was everything you said true? Did you really make Patricia swallow an entire vial of silver nitrate? A flicker of panic flashed in Naomi's eyes when she realized. They had heard every word. Seeing her reaction, they didn't need any more answers. Caleb reeled as if struck, staggering back as he stared at her in disbelief. Why would you do that, Naomi? She's your sister. Naomi was at a loss. She tried to put on her usual act and tentatively reached for Caleb's hand, but he yanked it away. Caleb, please let me explain. Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb wouldn't listen to Naomi's excuses. Without a word, they dragged her toward the healing sanctuary. They were determined to see for themselves whether Nathan had told the truth. The thought that I might already be dead brought tears to all three of their eyes. The witch who had once helped me find a healer greeted them. She remembered me clearly, and the moment my brothers mentioned me, she recalled me. A woman poisoned with silver nitrate was brought in on the day the Luna of the Bloodstone Pack was hospitalized, said the witch. She hesitated, and her gaze flicked to Naomi. She clearly recognized her as the Luna from the VIP ward. Back then, the Alpha and her three brothers had doted on her. Everyone in the sanctuary envied her. But now, she was being dragged along by the same brothers, looking utterly pathetic. What happened to her? Did she get the antidote? Where did she go? Anthony pressed urgently. A hint of sympathy crossed the witch's face as she answered. At the time, all the healers had been called away by the Bloodstone Pack's Alpha. Even the antidotes were taken to the Luna's ward. She even called her mate for help, but it seemed no one on the other end would help her. Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb froze in place, as if all life had been drained from them. Suddenly, Anthony's gaze snapped forward, locking onto a spot ahead. William emerged from the healing room, flanked by his guards. Anthony strode forward without hesitation, yanked William by the collar, and then slammed a fist into his face. William staggered back, eyes wide with shock as he turned to face Anthony. Two guards grabbed Anthony and held him back from reaching William. Calm down, Ant, Bradley and Caleb urged hoarsely. William couldn't have expected this either. Anthony glared at William, resentment blazing in his eyes. He growled. Didn't expect it? Patricia even called him for help. And in the end, she didn't receive a single antidote. She succumbed to the poison. A shiver ran through William. Ignoring the pain on his face, he seized Anthony by the collar. What did you just say? Who succumbed to poison? Bradley snapped. He shoved William aside and yelled, It was Patricia. Are you satisfied now? Because you pulled every healer away and took all the antidotes, she couldn't be treated in time. She's dead. Anthony shoved past the guards, landing blow after blow on William. You killed Patricia. She's dead because of you. I'll make you pay. Even then, William didn't utter a word. He simply took their blows without resistance. His eyes were vacant, as if someone had ripped his soul from his body. Naomi couldn't stand it any longer. Tears streamed down her face as she clutched William tightly, shielding him from their punches. Stop hitting him. Everything he did was for me. You can't blame him. She looked at Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb with pleading, sorrowful eyes as she spoke. I'm your sister too. I was poisoned with silver nitrate as well. I don't have much time left. You can't let your favoritism toward Patricia make you forget that you implicitly allowed William to do this in the first place. Anthony's fist froze midair, and his face contorted with anguish. Naomi gently grasped his fist. When he didn't pull away, she felt a little more confident. She quickly went on with her pitiful act, saying, And I know you loved Patricia, but she's gone. We should hold on to those who are still with us. But before she could finish, William's hand clamped around her throat. His grip was crushing, and her eyes rolled back as her vision flickered black. She clawed at his hands, thrashing desperately, but it was useless. After what felt like an eternity, William finally released Naomi. She collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. Before she could even voice her questions, William's dark, chilling voice rang out. Naomi Jenkins, were you really poisoned with silver nitrate? The moment those words left William's mouth, Anthony, Bradley, and Caleb widened their eyes and stared at Naomi in disbelief. Had she even made up the silver nitrate poisoning? Was thrown against the wall, the impact forcing a mouthful of blood from her lips. Yet, not one of them moved to help her. William hurled the medical report at her. The silver pin clipped to the paper sliced across her skin, drawing a thin line of blood. So this was why you refused to stay in the healing sanctuary, wasn't it? But a lie is still a lie, he roared. Caleb crouched down and gathered the scattered pages. The glaring words physical condition, excellent, cut him like a knife. His eyes were bloodshot as he turned to Naomi. Why would you do this? Has anything you've said ever been true? She looked at the four men and knew it was over. Everything she had done to me had been laid bare before them. Guys, please listen to me, Naomi began. I did all of this for you. I made a mistake 3 years ago. I shouldn't have fooled or hurt you like that, but I regret it now. She looked pleadingly at each of them, her eyes glistening with a flicker of hope. I finally understand that you were always the ones who treated me best. I never should have let you down. Besides, didn't you treat Patricia well only because of me? You did it to get back at me. Well, you've succeeded. I regret everything. I want to come back to you. Isn't this the outcome you wanted? Then, her gaze landed on William. William, I'll treat you well from now on, she said in a seductive tone. Let bygones be bygones, all right? You never loved Patricia anyway. And strictly speaking, I am your fated mate. After that, she turned to the 3 brothers, her voice earnest as she continued. Aunt Brad, Caleb, I'm still your sweet little sister. Even without Patricia, nothing between us has to change. Naomi thought her confession would mend everything, but the 4 men only stared at her, their disappointment plain on their faces. So this was the sister they had doted on all their lives. They finally realized they had given their love to the wrong person. You're wrong. Maybe I loved you once, but over these 3 years, I realized I've fallen for Patricia. She's the one who should have been my fated mate, said William. Anthony added, We don't need a sister as vicious as you. Patricia is the only sister we acknowledge. You killed her, and you've broken pack law. Now you must answer for it. At last, William summoned the pack guards. Take Naomi into custody, and find Patricia's body, he ordered. She deserves to be laid to rest properly. He stared at Naomi intently and added coldly, You killed Patricia, so you'll be buried in the tomb with her. Naomi gasped in shock. No. You can't do this to me. I'm your childhood sweetheart. Fear finally caught up with her. She looked desperately to the 3 brothers. Please, Anthony Bradley, Caleb, I know I was wrong. But I'm still your sister. Are you really just going to stand there and watch me die? She cried out. But they only stood there in silence. Not one of them spoke a word in her defense. They were utterly disappointed in Naomi. After I was gone, they finally remembered my kindness. All the little things I had done over the past 3 years had won their hearts completely. In truth, they should have given up on Naomi the moment she ran off with the beta of the Northern Pack 3 years ago. Realizing their decision was final, Naomi suddenly let out a bitter laugh. Do you really think that little show of devotion is fooling anyone? You call me vicious, but tell me, how are any of you better? Naomi shot back. She continued. In those 3 years I was gone, didn't you treat Patricia as my stand-in? You treated her well just to get under my skin, didn't you? We grew up together, but you ignored her for years for my sake. Isn't that your fault? I treated her the way I did because all of you pushed me to it. Naomi turned to William, mockery plain in her eyes. For 3 whole years, you refused to claim Patricia as your own. Yet, because of one lie, you claimed me without hesitation. And that's what you call love. You guys are the real hypocrites here. Each accusation struck them like a dagger to the heart, knocking the air out of them. Even as the guards hauled Naomi away, she kept spitting curses at them. Only when she disappeared into the distance did the place fall into a deadly silence. The 4 men stood frozen, each lost in his own thoughts. All the while, Naomi's words echoed relentlessly in their minds. William had no idea how he even made it back to the pack territory. Regret gnawed at him. If he had realized his feelings earlier, would I still be alive? He collapsed onto the couch, trembling uncontrollably from the pain. Later, the 4 of them searched frantically for my body, but I had long since left the Bloodstone Pack and moved to a secluded town in the south. The day I passed out from silver nitrate poisoning, the head healer at the healing sanctuary insisted on transferring me, terrified I wouldn't make it. Daisy refused to give up on me. She dragged my unconscious body all the way to the neighboring Silverlight Pack and collapsed at their gates. The Silverlight Pack's patrol found us and spent 2 full days and nights pulling me back from the brink. After that, I claimed Daisy as my sister. The 2 of us leaned on each other and moved to a quiet town in the south to start over. Life there was peaceful, with the warmth of spring and flowers blooming everywhere. At first, memories of my time in the Bloodstone Pack still surfaced, but they quickly began to fade. The pain I carried was slowly buried by the passing seasons. Just then Daisy exclaimed, "Patricia, look at the floral pastries I made." She was a bright and lively female beta. Ever since I claimed her as my sister, she had followed me everywhere. With her around, I finally felt what it was like to have a little sister. The full moon will rise in 3 days, and the Overwatch Pack is hosting the Moonlight Festival in the forest. Can we take these pastries with us? Daisy asked. Couldn't bring myself to refuse when I looked into her hopeful eyes. So I nodded, and she let out a delighted cheer, looking every bit like a child. A faint smile tugged at my lips. Her joy was infectious, and it was her presence alone that helped me move on from the grief with ease. When the full moon rose, I brought Daisy into the forest for the Moonlight Festival. She headed off with a few new friends to try moon surfing. Meanwhile, I wandered nearby, occasionally admiring the moonlit scenery. Patricia. I turned at the sound of my name. Even as a vague silhouette, I recognized him instantly. It was William. I furrowed my brow. It had been so long that I nearly forgot him. Still, I had no desire to reconnect with the ghosts from my past. I turned and started walking in the opposite direction. Ever since leaving the Bloodstone Pack, I hadn't wanted to see anyone from there again. But William was faster than I expected. In a flash, he teleported before me, blocking my path. "Patricia, you're alive." His bloodshot eyes were fixed on me, full of longing. It was as though he were afraid I might bolt. I stepped back in disgust, widening the distance between us. Then I replied coldly, "Yes, I'm still alive, thanks to the moon goddess." William's expression twisted with pain, and his voice came out hoarse as he apologized. "I'm sorry for what happened back then. It was my fault. I've regretted it every single day since, and I've missed you all this time." He stammered while trying to explain everything. Clearly, he was desperate to tell me about all he had endured over the years. But I coldly interrupted. I have no interest in what you went through. I've left the Bloodstone Pack and built a new life. Don't come looking for me again. William stared at me, his eyes red-rimmed. He looked like a lost child. Patricia, I know I was wrong. In the 3 years we were together, I truly fell in love with you. Back then, I didn't understand my own feelings and ended up hurting you. I regret it. Please come home with me. Before I could refuse, he hurriedly spoke again. When we couldn't find your body, we held a funeral with the clothes you always kept close. And Naomi, the one who poisoned you, was buried with them. The person who hurt you is dead. Can you forgive me? I looked him squarely in the eye and suddenly laughed. You were the one who pulled away every healer and didn't leave a single vial of antidote for me. You're the one who killed me. I spat. I turned away, looked toward Daisy, then continued. If it hadn't been for my sister, Daisy, I would have died from silver nitrate poisoning. The naive Patricia is gone. The one standing in front of you is a stranger who was given a second chance at life. I turned my back on William as he broke down in agonized sobs and walked away without hesitation. I thought that once I had made things clear, William would know better than to come back. But the next day, he wasn't the only one outside my door. My 3 older brothers were there too. The moment they saw me, their eyes filled with tears. Pat, I stepped back, dodging their embrace, and fixed them with a cold stare. I'm not your sister anymore. The woman you knew died from silver nitrate poisoning. Those words made their eyes redden further. Anthony even dropped to his knees. It was all my fault. I'm begging for your forgiveness. Are you trying to force me? Their actions filled me with nothing but disgust. I've made myself clear. I don't want to be your sister anymore, and I certainly don't want to be William's mate. I just want to be Patricia Jenkins. Seeing you here now makes me sick. Pain flashed across their faces after they heard that. Patricia, we know we were wrong. It was because of Naomi that we did all of that. I let out a bitter laugh and stripped away their pretenses. Yes, it was Naomi who hurt me, but it was your indulgence that let her do it. All along, you only ever saw me as her substitute. Just then, Daisy came out at the sound of the commotion. As soon as she saw the 4 men, she stepped in front of me protectively. What are you doing here? Haven't you hurt Patricia enough? She snapped. All these years, I saw your favoritism toward Naomi, the way you ignored Patricia, and how you hurt her. None of you deserves to call yourselves her family. Daisy's words hit them hard, leaving them speechless. Leave. I never want to see any of you again. With that, I took Daisy's hand and pulled her back inside. Early the next morning, I quietly left the southern town with Daisy, heading to a place they would never find us. I had found my true family and finally had love that was entirely my own. Now that I was finally happy, I no longer thought about the past.